Hello, Griff. How are you?
Hi, I'm very, very good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks so much for taking the time to have a chat today. Really appreciate it.
Wow.
An early morning for you?
No, it's fine. It's like 9:30 in the morning. So
Oh,
fine.
perfect. I love that. For me, that would
Yeah.
be early. So you're clearly much more of an early bird than
It is
I am.
early, but I didn't want to sound lazy, so I'm just going to act like I always get up at this time.
I'm right there with you. Don't even worry. So, first of all, congratulations. You've had a huge couple of months. Not only have you released Say It Again, but the video clip and also now the remix. How are you feeling?
Um, it's hard to feel like it's all real when we're still in this weird in between of lockdown over in the UK. So it's like it's good, but it's like nice that life is starting to get busy again. But otherwise, it's just yeah, I've just kind of been at home, so you can't really see people's reactions, I guess, in person. But it's been good.
Yeah, I bet. You might need to start looking at doing like the reaction videos when you're releasing, since you can't like get out
Yeah,
in front of people.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. You sound so modest when you talk about it. Like those are huge achievements.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just taking it all in. Like it's actually been about a year since I've been releasing music, and it's been nice to just reflect and like feel like I have achieved like quite a lot within the past year.
Yeah,
But yeah.
absolutely. And I saw that you actually, during school, you didn't tell people that you wanted to be a musician. How does it feel now that you can not only say that you want to be a musician, but you are and a great one at that?
Yeah, it feels good. It's funny. Yeah, I didn't tell anyone because I just thought people don't really get it, and people will expect me to be on radio tomorrow. Like they don't really get that the process is so slow. So I kind of just kept it to myself. But like, it's good. I haven't really seen anyone from school since. Like I've got my closest friends, but otherwise I haven't. So I get the odd DM now and again from like teachers or like old like students being like, "Did you go to our school?" Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's good.
I was going to say, do you have those people like coming back into your life now to be like, hey, do you remember me?
I get the odd text, yeah. But I think it's like it's fine. I think it's well intentioned, especially because I kept it such a secret that I think it is quite a shock to most people. So I get it.
Naturally, naturally. And so, in addition to that, you were also nominated for the Rising Star Ivor Novello Award. How does that feel?
That was a bit crazy. I don't think I realized how much of like a prestigious like award that was. Everyone was like, Sarah, do you realize that like that's a really big deal? I was like, oh, cool. But it's like it's just yeah, it's mind blowing, and it's really reassuring to feel like I guess all the years prior to this, I like finally being recognized in a way. Like I was writing so much while I was still in school, and like trying to balance music and school, and it was such like a tug of war that it's nice that like a year into doing it full time it feels like what I'm doing is like being recognized. So yeah, it's really, really good.
Fantastic. And I think that's such an interesting thing that you point out. A lot of people expect that when you want to be a musician, that it's supposed to just happen overnight. Like you've been teaching yourself for so long on top of this, but it's not something that does happen overnight. So it's cool that you're recognizing your own success in that way as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long process. So yeah.
Yeah. And so you're also a multi-instrumentalist. I wonder, what is your sort of favorite go-to? Because I am living for the Fender collection that you have behind you right now.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm showing off like my whole
I
collection.
love it. It's like, here they are.
It changes like depending on my mood, depending on the song. Most of the time, I'll like grab. If I could only play one for the rest of my life, it'd probably be piano. But I did buy this guitar, which is like a Taylor Swift guitar. It's like got Taylor Swift's logo on it here, and it is like my favorite thing at the moment. So yeah.
And so Taylor Swift was actually one of the very first albums that you bought for yourself. Is that right?
Well, yeah. Basically, my cousin gave me like an iPod Nano when they were still a thing, and there was only one album on it, and it was Taylor Swift Fearless, and it just like blew my mind, and I completely fell in love with it, and ever since I've just like loved her songwriting and storytelling.
Absolutely. And so you're just living for her latest album?
Yeah, yeah, I think everyone is because I think it's like it's a bit controversial to be a Taylor Swift fan because everyone's like, oh, like, she's not that cool. But I feel like with this album, it's like it's cool to like it.
Yeah, absolutely. She's got such incredibly pensive lyrics, but I find that's a trait that she shares with you as well. I love your lyrics. They're very mature, and especially in Say It Again, I find that you can really put yourself as a position of a listener and being there for a friend. And so I wonder what the catalyst for writing those lyrics was.
um, yeah, that song was kind of. a lot of the close like friends, and especially girlfriends around me, were like struggling, especially with like mental health and like a lot of different forms of that. And I think it's really hard as someone that you're close to just watch them struggle. And I didn't feel like I could help, or didn't know really what to say, or like how to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that song was me kind of just going, the only thing that I'm ever going to be able to do is just believe that it's going to be okay, and say it's going to be okay, and do it again and again and again until it really is. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely comes across. I think the lyrics in that are gorgeous. And I also have some questions around the video, because the video
Mm.
itself, first of all, did you make those outfits? Because I know that you're also a fashion designer.
Yes, I made a few bits here and there, but we paired it up with some other little bits. So it's like it's all a bit of a mix of stuff. But yeah.
Fantastic. And so there was obviously the recurring colors through there. There were the blues, the pastel pinks, and the whites, which are all very uplifting, happy colors. They sort of remind me of a sunrise in a way, which is an optimistic thing within itself. Was that intentional?
I think I always, across every creative, try and like create something that is uplifting. And I think I just naturally have like kind of aesthetics that I'm drawn to, which is like pastel colors and like daylight. So I think I just try and make sure that it's just carried across through everything. And so when we were working with the director, he seemed to have like an aligned vision. So yeah.
Very cool. And so, again, going back to your lyrics, there were a couple of things I noticed that sort of timed really well within the video. So there were the lyrics of "I'll remind you that the troubles that haunt you." I noticed that the timing when those lyrics were sung, you could see the dancers behind you, and it was almost like that haunting sort of following you. But then it panned to the lyrics of "They'll just be memories of the past," and then it was just the dancers on their own, and it came across as sort of symbolism of you're leaving those hauntings behind you. And I wonder again if that was intentional or well timed.
I love that. I'm gonna act like that was intentional.
I love
um,
it.
I'm gonna watch it again and then like get my own revelations for my own music video. Yeah, sure, that was on purpose.
You're like, that's exactly what it was.
That's
Perfect.
exactly what I wanted. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
'cause there were a couple of times where I noticed that it was like, it was like that moment of something being left in the past, because it happened again when it says, this thing, it won't last. Again, it was the dancers sort of doing their own thing. And then it was a happy shot
Uh,
of lifting yourself.
Damn, I'm just really into symbolism like that.
You're like, I am amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe the editor is good. Yeah, yeah, but yeah,
That was all intentional. I reckon just own it.
yeah,
And so
exactly.
later in the video clip as well, you're sort of singing into the mirror. Was that an ode to your song Mirror Talk? Because that sort of recurring theme of mirrors I find really interesting.
Yeah, I think it was in a way. I think it, because all my songs have this element of like internal thought process, which I think kind of the concept of looking into a mirror kind of applies to everything. So in a way, yeah, it was a bit of a nice throwback and a nice like, because I was actually talking to my creative director thinking, is the artwork to Mirror Talk like, but I think it was cool to kind of tie it all in and have these kind of constant themes of like self-reflection and like self-empowerment as well.
Absolutely, because there's something really intimate when you're listening to a song. Like, well, to be honest, any one of your songs, there is that really uplifting track. And when you're listening to a track like that by yourself, it is almost like you're talking to yourself. So I think to have that ode to your previous work is a really cool thing intertwined throughout.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
again, intentional, very intentional.
And so, as we mentioned before, you never really told anyone in school that you wanted to be a musician. And I wonder, you've been releasing music for a year. What would you tell yourself a year ago now if you could?
Ooh, what did I tell myself? Be patient. um, and what else would I tell myself? Yeah, it's just enjoy it and be patient and stop being so stressed. But I feel like that still applies to me now. But yeah, that's probably what I'd tell myself.
Yeah. And so when you say that applies to you now, is that a thing of like you're sort of eager for that next big thing to happen? And if so, what is that next big thing that you're excited for?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if this is something that like every kind of like artist or like I guess creative has in them, but I think you're always just thinking 10 steps ahead. And like I think I'm quite competitive, so like I never yeah, wherever I'm at now, I'm like, oh, but it needs to be better. Maybe that's a pessimist, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I think I need to just be patient and like enjoy the process more. But ideally, well, ideally we'd do live again. I don't know what it's like in Australia, but over here I don't think it's looking like we're going to do that for another until maybe 2021. But I'd love to like properly do live because I think that's where you get the buzz and where you start feeling like your music's actually reaching people. And yeah, so I'd really be keen to like do some kind of tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I guess it's not only the fact when you can sing to others, but it's when they're also able to sing those lyrics back to you. I can't even imagine what that would feel like as an artist.
No, exactly. It's like it's the weirdest thing. I remember I did my first headline show in London in November, and I didn't expect anyone. I expected it to just be friends, family, and maybe some industry. And then I started hearing like so many people singing it back to me, and I was looking out into the audience, and there was quite a few, like quite a lot of faces that I just didn't know at all. And I was like, oh crap, like it's working. Like people know my songs. So yeah, it's a really good feeling.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. It's very cool. And also, you've got those really great hooks within your songs that it makes it addictive to sing back, I think.
Thanks. Thanks.
And so, again, going back to when you were younger, you actually taught yourself music production. How did you even start doing that? Because that's no easy feat.
Um, how did I do that? So my brother actually is like also very musical. My dad bought my brother Logic, which is like a music programming software, and he bought him some speakers just so he could get into production a little bit more. And I think I started realizing that oh, like I can record my own songs on there. So I just started like I just liked singing, so I just started just like pressing record and singing covers or like singing anything and harmonizing, you know. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, but now the chorus needs drums. So then you like figure out how to just like put in a kick and a snare, and then you're like, oh, but it needs chords. And so I think it was kind of accidental that you just start building the track a little bit more. And I think over the years, when I'm not in school, that's just kind of all I've done, like just because it was fun, you know, to like experiment and see what I can make and like try and make something from home sound like a professional big pop record. Yeah,
Yeah, you're like a one-woman show.
I'm trying.
It's fantastic. And so, how did you find your voice? Because I'm sure that, there was, if you're teaching yourself and you've got to learn all those vocal techniques, how did you sort of go about being like, hey, this is how it's going to come naturally to me and this is how I want to sound?
Um, oh, I don't know. It takes a lot of time. Like I look back at me singing like 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh God, why am I singing in that way? Because I guess when you're trying to be good at anything, you just mimic a lot of whatever you're really into. So like I've gone through phases of just mimicking all my different favorite pop artists. But I think you just keep going until you kind of feel like you sound the way you want to sound. But yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess for anyone out there that is sort of looking to find their own voice, is that sort of the recommendation that you'd give? Like just listen to other artists that you like, sort of replicate and then just dive off and do your own thing?
Yeah, I think so. But I think that's with anything, like especially with finding your own sound. It's so hard to find your own sound in your own voice when there's like so much music being put out there. Um, but yeah, that's how I started. I think I just was like hearing like a Katy Perry song and mimicking those kind of melodies, and then hearing a Taylor Swift song, and then or hearing a Frank Ocean song, and I think you mimic it until you realize that you can combine and break the rules, um, and you do what kind of feels good to you. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the remix, how did that come about? And I wonder how much input you had into that as well, given that you have your own experience in production as well.
Um, the concept of remixes are quite new to me actually, because I've only remixed like the past like 2 or 3 songs. But this was actually I'll give all credit to my A&R Joe. If I'm totally honest, he kind of came through and he like played me this remix by I want to say Tisha. Is it like Tasha or Tisha? I haven't because I've never met her, but I'm gonna go for Tisha.
Like it.
Because it's like Tsha.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe basically like came through there and played it to me, and I was like, oh, sick! Like it's a really good vibe, and it's really cool to like have remixes that are done by like other really cool London girls as well. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
Yeah, I love that. There's like a real femme power in that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, he's done a good job there.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat tonight. This has been fabulous.
Oh no, thank you so much for having me.
And I'm glad that, you know, you have the rest of the day now as well. It's, you know, you're up early so you can conquer the day.
Mum, I put on a face of makeup just for you, and now I can go about my day feeling like, you know,
It's really better.
I've got my together. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much.
Thanks. This has been really great.